Hello everyone, my name is Jasmine Ruiz, and today I want to share 4 successful tips for beginning educators. I believe these tips can help beginning educators become more successful in the classroom. These tips come from 2 field experiences in which I interviewed a veteran kindergarten teacher with 19 years of teaching experience. Since school was not in session due to it being summertime right now, I conducted interviews instead of classroom observations. I combined what I learned from those interviews with educational psychology theories from this course to develop practical advice that beginning educators can apply across all content areas and with diverse learners. The following tips are based on theories I have studied throughout this course. These theories are Is Teaching an Art or a Science and Self-Efficacy Theory, developed by Albert Bandura. Is Teaching an Art or a Science explains that teaching can be considered an art because it involves understanding students as individuals, but it can also be considered a science because of reflection, student data, and adjusting instruction. So really, it can be both an art and a science. Albert Bandura's self-efficacy theory is defined as the belief that you are capable of and carrying out a specific task or of reaching a specific goal. This theory influences students' motivation to learn and continue through challenges. Even though these theories are a bit different and have different focuses, they help shape the importance of my success tips. The 4 tips I'll be sharing for future educators are building relationships with students. Teaching is a lifelong learning process. Help students believe they can succeed and learn what motivates each individual student. So for the first tip that I want to talk about today is building relationships with students. In my first field experience, I learned that honesty and patience are 2 of the most important qualities of successful teachers. When honesty and transparency are a priority in the classroom, students and the teacher are able to develop a special relationship. Not all students start the day with a grown-up who has shown them patience. As a teacher showing patience, you are able to establish a positive classroom environment. Building relationships with students creates trust, safety, and makes the student want to be at school and in your classroom. Continuing with tip number 1, some strategies to build relationships with students are learning students' interests, greeting students before they come into your classroom, and showing patience and grace. Some technologies that could be used are Flip and Google Slides. Flip is an online tool and students can use it to create an introduction video about themselves, so you can learn more about them. Google Slides is a presentation tool where students can create a presentation about themselves using the templates that are provided, and they can create like an all about me presentation. Still continuing with tip number 1, for diverse learners, such as students with disabilities, struggling readers, and gifted learners, building strong relationships helps because every student feels valued. The second tip I want to talk about is teaching is a lifelong learning process. In my first field experience, I learned that teachers are constantly reflecting on what worked for students and what needs to be adjusted in order for students to master the standards. My interviewee explained that even after 19 years, she is constantly changing her instruction. Also, the most thought out and prepared lessons can be a flop if the needs of the students are not being met. Being aware of the students' needs at all times enables teachers to adjust teaching in real time in order to teach the standards to mastery. Still continuing with tip number 2, some strategies to teaching is a lifelong process. A lifelong learning process is reflecting after every lesson, analyzing assessment data, adjusting instruction, and continuing to learn through professional development. And some technologies that could be used are Kahoot and Nearpod. So Kahoot is a game-based learning platform used to create, share, and play interactive quizzes and learning games. Nearpod is an interactive instructional platform that transforms traditional classroom lectures into active learning experiences. These platforms can help teachers gather data quickly. For tip number 2, for diverse learners, one lesson will never meet every student's needs. The teacher must differentiate instruction based on readiness levels, interests, and strengths. That is why teaching is a lifelong learning process. The third tip I want to talk about is helping students believe they can succeed. In my second field experience, I learned that a clip chart and individualized motivators are motivation strategies to promote learning. My interviewee explained how students become more motivated when they experience success. A clip chart not only rewards positive behavior, but also may help students develop confidence in themselves. One individualized motivator that stuck out to me from the interview was verbal accolades, which is words of encouragement and how that can positively influence students' motivation. This connects back to Bandura's self-efficacy theory, and with one of the factors being encouragement. For tip number 3, some strategies to help students believe they can succeed are praise effort, celebrating small successes, and modeling a growth mindset. Some technologies that could be used are Kahoot and Boom Cards. Kahoot, again, is a game-based learning platform, and Boom Cards is an interactive, self-checking digital task cards. It allows students to answer questions, and these cards provide instant feedback and track student progress for teachers. These platforms allow students to experience success through immediate feedback. For tip number 3, for diverse learners, such as students with disabilities, they need that repeated successful experience. English language learners need encouragement, and gifted students need confidence when they're facing challenging work. This is how they're going to be able to believe that they can succeed. The fourth and final tip I want to talk about is learning what motivates each individual student. In my second field experience, I learned that every child is motivated differently. It can be things like stickers, a trip to the treasure chest, extra recess, or calling parents that motivates a student. I also learned that we must take the time to discover what is meaningful to each student and use those motivators to encourage learning. For tip number 4, some strategies to learn what motivates each individual student are choices in assignments, setting student goals, and individual rewards. Some technologies that could be used are the point system, and Padlet. ClassDojo is a free educational platform that connects teachers, students, and families. It serves as a digital classroom management tool. Teachers can reward dojo points for positive behaviors. Being recognized for meeting expectations can strengthen the students' belief that they are capable of succeeding in the classroom. Padlet is a visual collaboration tool for creative work. You can create boards of all sorts of things. Students can see a history of their work, and that could boost their motivation. For tip number 4, for diverse learners, such as gifted students, they may prefer challenging projects that could be something that motivates them. Multilingual students may appreciate opportunities to share their culture because sharing about themselves could motivate them. To summarize this presentation, when conducting these interviews, it helped me realize that successful teaching is much more than delivering lessons. It is all about building relationships, continuously learning and reflecting, helping students believe in themselves, discovering what motivates each learner. This educational psychology course provided the research behind these practices, while my interviewee's experience showed me what they look like in a real classroom. As I begin my own teaching career, these are the principles I plan to carry with me every day. And one final piece of encouragement I want to share is to all beginning educators. You do not have to be a perfect teacher. Build relationships, continue learning from every experience, help students believe they can succeed, take the time to learn what motivates each child. If you do these things consistently, you will create a classroom where every student has the opportunity to grow and succeed. And this is my reference page.